Greetings! Welcome to the Devlog for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, despite the fact that I took most of this past week off for sanity reasons, after that huge Rotwieners update, we've got 2 new toys to show you this week, as well as some adjustments to an existing system. So let's take a look at our new toys. So this one I know has been long awaited, frequently requested, and of course is a personal favorite. I absolutely get why so many folks just adore this piece. That's right, it's the StG 44, or the what is in most respects the sort of father of all assault rifles. This is where it began. Let's go ahead and fire it, and then we'll talk about it. So, gonna insert our mag, pull our bolt back. You'll notice our dust cover shoots open when we do so. Operate our fire selector. So one click takes us on to fire as semi, and then another onto full. Let's line this up. Delightful. So much fun. Let's run one more through there. Let's go back to semi. There we go. Beautiful. Let's pull that out there and, of course, shut our dust cover once we are done with it. So yeah, so that one's in there. No other real sort of special features from an interactivity standpoint. It's a, closed bolt weapon. But yeah, just an absolute beauty. I adore it. And then the second new toy we have to take a look at, let's get some stuff out of our quick belt here, is the Russian SVT-40. It's quite a long one here. This is and we've got a bespoke scope just for it. Let's pop that on there. I believe this is the PU scope. Anywho, let's go ahead and pop a magazine in. Pull that back. Line that up. Nice, clear, large reticle. Beautiful. Pop that back off. If you notice any frame drop with my recording, it's just because I'm recording in the Unity editor, which incurs a bunch of overhead, and then the recording software on top of that. I didn't have time to push an actual build, which is way faster for today's log. This also, in addition to having its detachable magazine, can take clips here. This is 7.62 by 54 millimeter rimmed, just like the Mosin, which will be coming soon. So let's load that in. It's a 10-round mag. It's 2 stripper clips worth. Nice and punchy. Get out of there, brass. Love it. Beautiful. So those are our 2 new toys. These will be in the next update whenever that happens. I might actually, even though I've been mostly doing monthly updates, I might be doing one next week. We'll have to see how a couple systems that I'm working on are. But I've been tweaking some balance stuff and Rotwieners more, which means I want to get just another update out just for folks to test. If it ends up still being a little unstable, it'll just go out to the beta branch. We will see. So let's jump out of this scene momentarily and take a look at what I've been adding or tweaking for the sort of botworst combat, namely impact effects.
Yo! So out of VR, I'm actually going to be talking over a little footage that I just shot to describe the other system that I worked on this week, namely impact effects. A number of you have mentioned, especially with the more sort of like bullet spongy versions of the soldier Wienerbots, both in Rotwieners and in the arena, that hit registration isn't terribly legible unless you're really, really close up. And so I've added a couple new pooled categories of effects to use specific to the bots. There's three new ones. There's a spark style hit effect, which is just for the bot armor, not just hitting anything that's metal, because in reality bullets don't spark. And while I want to sort of keep that realism for average things in the environment, it's useful in the case the bot armor is made of who knows what, so it's a good excuse to make it evident that you've struck armor even at a pretty far distance. And then I've added two meaty effects. One for the sort of standard soldier Wienerbots, and one for the rot wieners that is appropriately green. So when you strike those now, so there's 4 different categories for each of these effects. There's a tiny, a small, a medium, and a large that gets spawned based on sort of how powerful the projectile that's striking the surface is, and how much of its remaining energy still is behind the strike. So hopefully that should make it far more evident when you're actually hitting things, and whether, in the case of soldier bots, whether you're hitting metal or meat, and just make it more sort of like cinematic and enjoyable to strike them. I'm going to be playing around with adding some sort of similar hit effect with melee strikes. It's a little more challenging of a thing to make it look not unusual just due to the way collision contacts are generated, but it's something I'm going to continue playing with. Beyond that, some sort of larger roadmap things. Sort of a good news, bad news, I guess you could say. I'll just drop the quote-unquote bad news first. The larger sort of World War II firearm-themed mode that I've been working on has sort of grown in scope such that I'm not going to be rushing to try to get it done before the end of the year. It's far too much. I kind of burnt myself out a little bit over Halloween, and more to the point, the amount that I got done in that time working at that intensity really pointed out to me that I don't have nearly enough time to execute what I want to for this mode, and that because of just what it is, it's worth not rushing. So I'm going to shift emphasis a little bit in terms of what I'm still going to be working on prior to the end of the year. And what that's going to be is continued work on the sound system, as I also realized that really should be done and fully operational before I do another huge mode, just because of the amount of rework that's going to be necessary in regards to complex environments, defining reverb, and things like that. The other thing that I'm going to be working on is some much needed polish prior to the Christmas sort of sales season. User onboarding is still not great. The main menu, let's be frank, it stinks, along with a whole bunch of like how to change default options. So I'm going to be tuning a bunch of that, and in the process adding a bunch of like long requested customization options as well. Things like the color of your hands, a couple more things related to locomotion. I'm going to be adding some, I've got a long to-do list of like little user experience things that continues to grow. And I'd like to clear off as many of those things from the list before 2017 is over. And then the last thing that I'm going to be looking into, once again, no promises, we'll see how it goes, is especially with the amount of continued requests that folks have had involving being able to customize a shooting range, and especially because a bunch of my focus lately has been on the more fantastical and absurdist side of the game, in the case of things like rot wieners. I figured before the end of the year I'm going to put a little bit of work back into the more sort of like tangible and realist side of things, and take a run again at trying to do a configurable range for you folks. So reduced in scope from the old level creator that I had imagined back in February that was just way too complex and above my sort of pay grade for doing, but still really, really configurable with a whole bunch of new targets. I basically started working on like 6 or 7 new target types and never finished them, and it seems like now would be the right time to do that. Some of you who follow on the subreddit may have noticed I was asking some questions about 3-gun competition and other sorts of like competitive sporting course layouts, just to make sure that anything I put together was just customizable enough to be able to represent those things. But it's something that I want to do, and I'm fairly certain that I now know enough to be able to efficiently and stably execute it in a way that you'll be able to configure and share them. So it's something I'm going to be researching and looking into over the next month. So, and of course I will share progress as I progress through it. Well, that is enough rambling for now. I'm going to get back to my mostly week off, the waning days of it. And I will have more cool stuff for you to check out next week. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Peace.